Shutter speed. Shutter speed is the most important variable in the exposure triangle for wildlife photography. So let's play a game today. I'm going to show you 10 images I took either at 500 or 600 millimeters. And you're going to have to tell me the shutter speed I used. I'll give you 3 options. You have to guess the correct one. Let's go to photo number 1. Photo number 1 is a picture of a striated heron. A portrait, it's standing on a wall. Which shutter speed did I use? Did I use 1/200, 1/400, or 1/800th of a second? If you guessed 1/800, you're right. Even though this bird is standing still and 1/800 is a little bit high for standing or sitting birds, because the wind was blowing, I used a higher shutter speed to ensure that feather detail would be sharp. Because when it's windy, feather detail often moves in the wind. So it's better to use a higher shutter speed in those cases so you don't get blurry feather detail. Let's go to photo number 2. Photo number 2 is a macro shot, again at 500 millimeters, of a dragonfly. Which shutter speed did I use? 1/250, 1/500, or 1/1000? If you guessed 1/1000, you're right. Now, why did I use such a high shutter speed? It's just sitting on a leaf. Well, actually, this plant looks pretty flimsy, don't you think? And it was waving in the wind, so in order to get a sharp shot again, I couldn't have used a lower shutter speed like 1/250. 1/1000 was the safe shutter speed to get a tack sharp shot. Let's go to photo number 3. Photo number 3 is a flying anhinga against the blue sky. Which shutter speed did I use? 1/1500, 1/2000, or 1/3200? If you guessed 1/2000, you're right. Because this bird is flying, 1/2000 is a good starting point for flying birds. Let's go to photo number 4. Sooty Tyrannulet sitting on a rock. Now I'll give you a hint. This sooty Tyrannulet was very well behaved. It was moving from rock to rock, but frequently came back to this rock. And luckily I was able to get down in position to get a shot of it while the water was flowing in the background. Hence all that cool bokeh. Which shutter speed did I use? 1/125, 1/250, or 1/500? If you guessed 1/250, you're right. Now, 1/250 is a little bit low for sitting birds, but because there were so many opportunities for taking a picture of this bird, I already got the safe shot at 1/500th of a second, and so I lowered my shutter speed to get a little bit better noise performance, and it paid off. I got a sharp shot at 1/250. What about photo number 5? We've got a photo of a limpkin. This is one of my favorite photos of this limpkin. It was very cooperative. It wasn't scared. It just sat in this tree. And I managed to get this portrait with the background elements aligned very well. Which shutter speed did I use? 1/200, 1/320, or 1/500? I used 1/200. Although 1/200 again is a little bit unsafe, because this limpkin was so cooperative and just sitting there, I decided to try a lower shutter speed again for better noise performance. 1/200 got the shot. Let's go on to number 6. It's a juvenile gull in the water, and it's swimming, so chances are it indicates a little bit of a higher shutter speed. But which one did I use? 1/800, 1/1000, or 1/1600? The correct answer is 1/1000. 1/1000 is a good speed for swimming birds, especially ones that are swimming a little more rapidly and doing things in the water, like this gull, and it was a good shutter speed to get its mouth wide open. So 1/1000 was the speed to use. Photo number 7 is an adult ring-billed gull in the waters, the ephemeral ponds on a beach. Which shutter speed did I use? 1/250, 1/500, or 1/800? Now, although this bird was relatively still, I used a shutter speed of 1/800. And the reason why I did that is because this bird was doing things. It was drinking water from the pond, and I wanted to get that water droplet coming right out of its bill. So, although I could have used a slower shutter speed, I used 1/800 to make sure that drop of water was fairly frozen, relatively frozen in place. Photo number 8 is a bunch of flying Canada geese against a sunset sky. There's a nice pattern in the sky, and the geese form very nice shapes, none of them intersecting. That's what I like about this photo. Now the question is, again, which speed? Did I use 1/1250, 1/1600, or 1/2000? The answer is 1 over 1250. I did say that higher shutter speeds like 1 over 2000 are good for birds in flight, but because these birds are silhouettes and flying fairly far away, you don't really need a very high shutter speed to freeze all that feather detail. So 1 over 1250 was enough in this case. Photo number 9 is a deer in the dusk. The sun has already set here. Which shutter speed did I use? 1 over 125, 1 over 250, or 1 over 500? Well, I used 1 over 125. Now that's a fairly unsafe shutter speed, but because it's so dark, if I used a higher shutter speed, there would have been too much noise in this photo. Also, the lens I was using had vibration reduction, and the camera too also had IBIS. So, my camera lens combination was good enough to handhold at such low shutter speeds. Now it's true, there is still a little bit of a danger from wind blowing and from the animal moving, but I took 4 or 5 shots and one turned out to be sharp. So, if you're in a situation like this, sometimes it does pay off to use lower shutter speeds, especially since I go to this park all the time. I see these deer all the time, and so experimenting with lower shutter speeds was worthwhile in this case. Finally, we got photo 10. Brewer's blackbird sitting on a branch at 600 millimeters. Which shutter speed did I use? 1 over 25, 1 over 50, or 1 over 125? Again, I used a low shutter speed of 1 over 50. Now, 1 over 50 is a very unsafe shutter speed for birds, especially when they're perched on flimsy branches. Nevertheless, it was very dark. The maximum aperture of my lens was f6.3, so if I had used a higher shutter speed, I wouldn't have gotten a very good shot. It would have been too noisy again. And these birds were all over the place, so I thought it was worthwhile to try and experiment with a 1 over 50 shutter speed. I think I had to take about 10 shots, but this one did happen to be sharp. Sometimes you'll just encounter the branch will be waving back and forth, and at just the right time, if you hit the shutter at just the right time, even at a low shutter speed, you can get a sharp shot. Again, if you have multiple opportunities, it's definitely worthwhile to experiment with a lower shutter speed. So I hope you enjoyed this quiz on shutter speeds, and I hope it taught you a little bit about shutter speeds in wildlife photography. If it didn't, try taking up portrait photography. Anyway, I'll see you again next time.